Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. From the firearms industry, things are happening. People are buying things, different companies. We know the big shakeup over at Remington, but there's other things going on with the people who make and sell gunpowder or propellants, if you prefer. Aaron Oelger joins us right now from Hodgdon with the news that's going on over there. Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Very good. How about yourself?
I am great, and this was interesting news that I didn't know was developing. I'll let you give away the headline on the acquisition.
Well, I appreciate that. So just a little bit of a background. Hodgdon is a 70-year-old company that's still owned by the Hodgdon family. So we were founded in 1947. And we have been around for over 7 years, and lots of really neat things going on at our small company. And some of the most exciting pieces is what we announced last Wednesday. So we have acquired a Ramshot, Accurate, the smokeless powder brands, as well as Blackhorn 209. So we are extremely involved in smokeless market with our brands that we had currently, Hodgdon, IMR, and then we licensed the Winchester brand. We have also been leading the black powder market, if you will, with brands like Pyrodex, 777, and White Hots, which are all things that we've developed internally. So for us to get a hold of these three new brands and some of the employees that came over with the acquisition, for a small company like ours that's based in Kansas, this is really exciting times.
So what happens? Are you moving everybody in with your operation at this point, or are you going to maintain separate operations?
Yeah, great question. So we operate several facilities already. So our we call it our headquarters, but it's not like we're a big corporation. There are 16 or 17 of us in a suburb right outside of Kansas City called Shawnee, Kansas. We have about 40 people out in our manufacturing, production, and shipping facility in Harrington, Kansas. We operate the GoX facility down in Louisiana. So we'll just be adding another facility now in Montana, which is where Western Powders used to be located. So we'll bring them on board and ship out of our new Montana facility. We'll maintain another ballistics lab out there, so that gives us about double the amount of ballistics data that we can now collect using the new lab that we have in Montana as well as our current lab in Kansas. So we'll operate that as a facility going forward.
Well, that's good news. I mean, it's obviously Hodgdon is an old line company, great family-owned company. I've known the family for many, many years and make terrific products, but you're not resting on your laurels. You might just talk about some of the things that have happened over the last, 10 years or so, because you have more powders coming out, and it's like we have more choices now than we've ever had before.
We do, and we take that pretty seriously. Most of us at the company are shooters. Lots of family members still involved, so we take the reloading market really seriously. Most of us also hunt with muzzleloaders. I was just out a couple weeks ago in Kansas with on a muzzleloader hunt, so we take that pretty seriously. We're we've done a number of things lately, so we continue to focus on the Winchester Stayball line. So certainly we've seen cartridges like 6mm and 6.5 Creedmoor, 6 GT, and that type of burn speed. So we introduced a new powder called Stayball 6.5 this year. We're looking at other burn speeds for that, and we'll continue to do that. But we can't take our eye off the ball. We've shipped an awful lot of H4350, Varget, Retumbo, H1000 this year. But quite frankly, it doesn't really matter how much you ship right now. We're just like primers and ammunition. The demand is there. We're shipping every grain of powder that we can get packaged and shipped out of the warehouse. But the reality is consumer demand is far outstripping supply at this point. So right now we're buckled down and doing everything we can just to get powder out the door.
So are you, for what you're hearing, is it a case of people who are reloading buying more, or are we seeing a lot of people this year deciding to get into reloading?
We think it's both. So certainly we've seen this ramp up over the last, call it 10 years, and we have seen people that vowed, I'm not going to be caught like this unprepared again. Right. Those folks have really stocked up over the last 3, 4, 5 years, so we don't think it's them. We think that a lot of it is new entrants So people who may have reloaded before and now they see the shortages in ammunition and they want to start loading again, as well as people who've never loaded whatsoever. So we maintain a technical services line where we'll help people with cartridges and loads and that are new to reloading. We're getting a lot of calls right now from people who are brand new to reloading. So we think it's really a mixture, but it's not a surprise, right? When people have trouble getting the ammunition that they want, they'll naturally look at alternatives like loading their own.
Exactly. For those who are wondering, Hodgdon is Hodgdon, HodgdonReloading.com. And you can go there and look up load data. It's a great resource, the website is, as well as basically how to get into it. I'm looking at this Stayball 6.5. Reloading powders is an interesting science, and the science of internal ballistics and expansion volume and case capacity and burn speeds and using retardant coating on powders to control the burn speeds. I guess one of the things we ought to point out, and I think most people know, but the newcomers may not, is that gunpowder does not explode when you shoot a cartridge. It actually burns. I mean, it burns really fast, but it is still a controlled burn, isn't it?
That's absolutely right, Tom. It is a flammable, not an explosive.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Somebody says, well, I've got some powder in the back I've had for a while. I wonder if it's still good. That's got to be one of the questions you get all the time. How long is powder good for?
It is, and that's not necessarily, there isn't necessarily an easy answer to that. I can tell you that if you smell it and it smells bad, it is probably not worth using anymore. Mm-hmm. I tell you, we get this question an awful lot, and my answer is always half joking but half serious. If there's any question in your mind on if it's good or not, why don't you just use it to put on your rose bushes as fertilizer, and we'll make more, right? So if there's ever any question, we're just going to ask people to recycle that powder in the form of rose bush mulch, if you will, and then just buy some more because we'll make it.
Well, the reason you mentioned it using it as a fertilizer is you've got a lot of nitrogen in propellant, and the nitrocellulose that you have in there actually functions, and we're not kidding, it really does work as a fertilizer.
It does.
So I actually opened a can that I've had for 50 years last year, and the instant I opened it, it was like, oh no, that's you could just smell it. You go, that's gone bad, and that went out in the yard and became fertilizer. But there was no doubt about that one. And 50 years is really, that's asking a lot.
It is. I still have some that I've been using since I was a teenager, and I'm no longer a teenager. So my dad would have bought this probably in the late 80s, I'm guessing. And so I'm still using it today. So it is not unusual for gunpowder as long as it's kept in controlled conditions, not out in a hot garage that gets hot and cold. It's not unusual for it to keep for some period of time.
And I tell people, look, storing powder and storing ammunition, it likes to be in the same conditions you are, which is cool and dry, not too hot, not too humid.
That's exactly right.
Well, this is great news about the acquisition and Hodgdon. And, I know you guys know how to do this well. You got great information for anybody who's thinking about getting into reloading. Well, I know that powder can be hard to find, but it's out there. I was at a store just the other day, and they had a whole bunch of powder on the shelf, so it's still out there.
Absolutely. So I do a lot of retail checks as part of my job in sales and marketing. I travel quite a bit. I do a lot of retail store checks. And I'm finding that powder is absolutely out there. We continue to ship at as much as we can get out the door. And I'm seeing it regularly on retail stores. The problem is when it's on the shelf, it's not going to last that long. So if you see it and you need it, most people are going ahead and buying it and not just looking. So we're seeing it on our internet retailers. We're seeing it on local retail shelves around Kansas and Missouri. But, yeah, if you need powder, as soon as you find it, you should probably go ahead and buy some. Okay,
one last question for you. And you've got this great website. And I know people say, well, I like to use X, 4350 or 4831, whatever it is. And if you can't find that, you can also go to your website and look at the data and go, oh, well, I can get pretty close to the same velocities with this other powder that is available. There's nothing wrong with switching to a different powder, is there?
Absolutely not. And, I do think that hand loaders generationally and stereotypically are some of the last to switch, right? I've been using the same powder because my dad taught me how to load using that powder. And so lots of people just don't want to switch. But there's a new breed of hand loaders out there, particularly the ones that are focused on long-range precision shooting. Those guys try everything new, and they want to try it for themselves and see what works for them. So we're really seeing that perception change as far as not wanting to try new powders, and that's one of the reasons we focus on data. We want to get all of the data out there and available for customers. So if you have any questions, absolutely, hit HodgdonReloading.com. Or at the bottom of that page on the website, you'll see a phone number. You could always just call us, and we'll be happy to walk you through it.
Now, that's customer service. Aaron, thank you so much. Congratulations on the acquisition. That's great for that company or those companies, and always great to talk with the folks from Hodgdon. It's a great old company, and you make super products.
Well, thanks so much, and I appreciate the time today.
All righty, you take care.